Thanks for joining us on Plus TV Africa. I am Felicity Ezewike. A former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Aloysius Katsina-Alu, is dead. Justice Walter Onogie confirmed it. Katsina-Alu was born on August 18, 1941. He was aged 76. The deceased, who hailed from Osongo in Benue State, was the Chief Justice of Nigeria from December 30th, 2009 to August 28, 2011. Several reactions have trailed the result of the just concluded Ekiit State governorship election as the candidate of the All Progressive Congress APC, Kayode Fayemi, has emerged the winner. The Independent National Electoral Commission on Sunday announced Mr. Fayemi as the winner of the election, having defeated the Deputy Governor of the state and candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Professor Kolakbo Olushola, and over 30 others in a keenly contested election. Following the declaration, many Nigerians have mixed reactions from the results of the election. Plus TV Africa correspondent Mary Chinda spoke to some political analysts on the issues raised after the election.
Reactions have continued to trail the last Saturday's governorship elections in Ekiit State. The election had a few card reader malfunctions to allegations of voter inducement. Nelson Ekujimi is a political analyst who was an election observer in Ekiit State. He described the election as a credible one.
The election is one that went through the normal electoral process, of which the outcome, as announced by the Chief Returning Officer on Sunday, July the 15th, reflected the will of the people as expressed at the polls.
He called for the speedy prosecution of Governor Ayo Fayoshi over what he described as a treasonable offense.
It is important for us to call for the arrest and prosecution of Governor Ayodele Fayoshi for going on the state radio and television, that is the broadcasting service of Ekiit State, to announce results of an election that was conducted in the state.
But with the elections over, what are the challenges of the incoming governor, Dr. Kayode Fayemi? Dr. Dele Ashiru projects some of the challenges that the governor-elect may face.
You may recall that as we speak, the outgoing governor is still owing the people of Ekiit State more than 6 months' salary. So Governor Fayemi will need to warm himself into the hearts of the people by first looking for resources, even if it means borrowing, to offset, the accrued salaries.
INEC has made a lot of efforts in this election. This may be a pointer of what is to be expected in the national elections in 2019.
What we saw in Ekiti is an indication that Nigeria is ready. So the question you now ask yourself is, which one gives you democracy? Is it the cohesion or the values of the people?
The People's Democratic Party has rejected the INEC results and has promised to head to the court to find its victory. Will it succeed? Will there be a rerun? We will be following and updating you at Plus TV Africa. I am Mary Chinda reporting.
Still keeping with the aftermath of the Ekiit State governorship election, a coalition of domestic and international election observers accredited to observe the July 14 polls in the state said the election fell short of global best practices and electoral standards. The Independent National Electoral Commission declared the candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Kayode Fayemi, as the winner of the election. The observers, who comprised representatives from over 50 domestic organizations, include Center for Credible Leadership and Citizens Awareness Nigeria, Justice and Equity Organization, as well as the other bodies from the African Union, among others. The observers, who praised INEC for the proper conduct of the poll, faulted the deployment of 30,000 policemen for the election. They also said the election was characterized by ballot box snatching, sporadic shooting, and driving away of some party agents, as well as intimidation, oppression, and forceful influence of electorate's free will, among others. The observers therefore held that the July 14 poll could not be recommended as a template for the forthcoming 2019 general election, as it fell short of global standards and spelled doom. Ekiit State Governor Ayodele Fayose has demanded that his life and that of his family be secured, saying there is no single policeman protecting him. The governor, who made his first public appearance on Tuesday since Ekiti held its governorship election, lamented that he and his family are not safe. Governor Fayose made the allegations when he visited the Ewi of Ado-Ekiti, Oba Adeyemo Adejugbe, at his palace in the state capital. He condemned the situation where the man that contested against him is allegedly protected by at least 2 units of policemen, while the incumbent governor has no single policeman to protect him. The governor claimed the police officers deployed in the government house had been withdrawn since Wednesday last week and called for the intervention of concerned individuals and groups in the matter. Cameroonians fleeing an increasingly bloody separatist conflict has received little aid as humanitarian agencies struggle to access the area. The United Nations said on Tuesday more than 200,000 people have fled their homes in the volatile western regions since late last year, in addition to at least 21,000 who have fled into Nigeria. This was said by the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. The regions have been gripped by violence since protests by the mainly Francophone country's Anglophone minority morphed into a secessionist movement last year. Former US President Barack Obama on 17th of July delivered the 2018 Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture in Johannesburg on his first return to Africa since leaving office in early 2017. The Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture is one of the foundation's flagship programs to honor its founder, Nelson Mandela. Every year since 2003, global leaders have used the lecture to raise topical issues affecting South Africa, Africa, and the rest of the world. In his speech, the former US president said the world would resist cynicism over the rise of strongmen, in an apparent reference to populist leaders who hold power in a number of countries.
I am not being alarmist, I am simply stating the facts. Look around. Strongman politics are ascendant, suddenly, whereby elections and some pretense of democracy are maintained, the form of it, but those in power seek to undermine every institution or norm that gives democracy meaning. In the West, you've got far-right parties that oftentimes are based not just on platforms of protectionism and closed borders, but also on barely hidden racial nationalism.
Ethiopia will also reopen its embassy in neighboring Eritrea at a yet-to-be-announced date, the country's Minister for Government Communications Affairs, Ahmed Shaid, said in a tweet. The minister cited an official of the Foreign Affairs Ministry as stating that besides the reopening of the embassy in Asmara, Ethiopia was also working to fully implement the terms of a recently signed peace deal between the two nations. Eritrea on Monday opened its embassy in Addis Ababa after the facility was closed down 2 decades ago. Egypt's parliament has passed a law giving the state power to block social media accounts and penalize journalists held to be publishing fake news. Under the new law, social media accounts and blogs with more than 5,000 followers on sites such as Twitter and Facebook will be treated as media outlets and will be subject to prosecution for publishing false news or incitement to break the law. The bill prohibits the establishment of websites without obtaining a license from the Supreme Council and allows it to suspend or block existing websites or impose fines on editors. With less than 2 weeks to the presidential polls in Mali, the United Nations Human Rights Office says killings of almost 300 Malian civilians in fighting between rival militias this year could threaten the outcome of the election. Malians head to the polls on July 29th for a vote meant to draw a line under 6 years of political unrest, jihadist attack, and ethnic clashes. But the situation has degenerated in recent months and spilled over into neighboring countries. Mali's government has repeatedly said the polls in which incumbent President Ibrahim Keita is seeking re-election will go ahead as planned, but the relentless violence threatens to significantly depress turnout. When we return, we will bring you updates on President Donald Trump's meeting with President Vladimir Putin and more. Don't go away. U.S. President Donald Trump has said he accepts U.S. intelligence agencies' conclusion that Russia interfered in the 2016 election, despite declining to do so just a day ago. He said he had misspoken on Monday and had meant to say he saw no reason why it was not Russia that meddled.
So I'll begin by stating that I have full faith and support for America's great intelligence agencies, always had. And I have felt very strongly that while Russia's actions had no impact at all on the outcome of the election, let me be totally clear in saying that, and I've said this many times, I accept our intelligence community's conclusion that Russia's meddling in the 2016 election took place. Could be other people also. There's a lot of people out there. There was no collusion at all.
The original comments after he met Russian President Vladimir Putin in Helsinki drew a barrage of criticism. Even some of Mr. Trump's allies had urged him to clarify his stance. A 6-story building collapsed into an adjacent construction site in Greater Noida near New Delhi, killing at least 2 people, police said on Wednesday, as rescuers searched for more people feared trapped in the rubble. Rescue workers look for survivors amidst the rubble at the site of a collapsed residential building at Shaberi village in Greater Noida, India, July 18, 2018. Police said the building that collapsed on Tuesday night had been constructed a few years ago and did not appear to have many occupants. 5 people were killed in Nepal by landslides and flooding brought on by monsoon rains, bringing the death toll to 90 across the country. A woman and her 2 children, one of them an infant, were killed when a landslide struck their home in a village in north-central Nepal's Gota district. Local police officer Mahendra Nepal said Parbhat police officer Rabindra Kumar Shetrata said in the district of Parbhat, a teenage boy was buried alive, and a man was swept away by a flooded river after a landslide engulfed 7 houses. According to Nepal's Home Ministry, over 55 people have been injured and 18 have gone missing in the monsoon-induced disaster in the last 1 month. Japan's weather agency has warned of a life-threatening heat wave in many parts of the country, with temperatures expected to hit nearly 40 degrees Celsius in some areas. The meteorological agency said in the city of Kumagaya, north of Tokyo, the temperature is expected to rise to 39 degrees Celsius, while the daytime high in the capital was about 35 degrees. Local media on Tuesday reported that at least 6 people have died and hundreds more were taken to hospital for heat stroke. The Fire and Disaster Management Agency recently put the number of deaths caused by heat stroke at 12, while 9,956 people were taken to hospitals across Japan. The heat wave is expected to last until the end of July. Business reports after this, to stay with us. President Muhammadu Buhari has promised to secure Nigeria so that it can attract more investors into the country. He said when Nigeria is safe and secure, investment will also be safe and yield handsome returns. He disclosed this on Monday when he met with the chief executive officers of Dutch companies at The Hague during his visit to the Netherlands. He commended the many Dutch-owned companies operating in Nigeria for dealing fairly, noting that with many of them, the relationship dates back more than 2 generations, and it is now almost a blood relationship rather than commercial. Google is to be fined a record 4.3 billion euros over its Android operating system, the BBC has learned. The European Commission's action followed a 3-year probe into claims the firm's mobile device strategy had unfairly strengthened its dominance of search. The penalty is set to be confirmed at a press conference in Brussels later. It will be the largest fine imposed by the regulator against a single firm. However, Google may challenge the ruling. Still ahead on Plus TV News is our roundup on entertainment and sports news. We're back in a moment. Don't go away.
In entertainment, world leader in music industry Universal Music Group is launching a division in Nigeria as part of its expansion plan. The new setup will operate from a new location in Lagos, headed by the general manager for the Nigeria office, Ezegozie Eze. The aim is to promote artists from Nigeria, Ghana and Gambia with the group's global networks, promotion and distribution channels. American singer-songwriter of the famed music group Destiny's Child, Michelle Williams, is in her battle with depression, has checked herself into a treatment facility outside Los Angeles. Reports say she has been in the facility for days. Williams took to social media to say, and I quote, "I have been suffering since the age of between 13 and 15. At that age, I didn't know what to call it. It got really, really bad to the point of that I was suicidal. I was at that place where it got so dark and heavy, I wanted out." End of quote. Last year, she released information about her conflict with depression during an interview on US chat show The Talk, disclosing that she once experienced suicidal thoughts. China's most expensive film, Asura, has become a flop of historic magnitude, having brought in only $7.3 million even though the budget, as reported, was over $110 million. Its failure has been so ghastly, it has been pulled from the theaters in its opening weekend. The movie was the first in a trilogy that was inspired by Tibetan Buddhist mythology and intended to promote traditional Chinese culture. The projected loss of $106 million will make it the 5th biggest failure in movie history worldwide, right after Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas, which suffered losses of $125 million according to statistics from Box Office Mojo. The movie took 6 years to make, with costly visuals highlighting 2,400 scenes with special effects in its running time of 141 minutes. And that's it on entertainment, the very best in sports, right after this.
Hello and welcome to Sports Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko with the biggest stories in the world of sports. 20-year-old Nigerian striker Taiwo Awoniyi has officially signed a contract extension with Liverpool FC following a successful season in Belgium's top flight with Royal Excel Mouscron, where he scored 10 goals and made 4 assists. And the duration of the deal was not disclosed by the club, but Awoniyi told Liverpool FC that he feels excited and very happy to be signing with the club. And Awoniyi joined the Reds from the Imperial Soccer Academy in Nigeria in 2015 and also represented Nigeria at the under-23 level. Awoniyi, an under-17 World Cup winner, is aiming to improve further in the coming campaign and also hoping to get a call-up to representing Nigeria at the senior level. And Nigeria have been confirmed as the host of the 2021 edition of the WAFU Cup of Nations. It happens to be the 3rd edition of the competition in September 2021. And Senegal will stage the 2nd edition of the competition in September 2019. And the first WAFU tournament hosted by Fox Sports was held in September 2017 and saw the host nation Ghana crowned champions in what was a very successful event. and the Black Stars defeated Nigeria by 4-1 in the finals. And the West African Union is made up of 16 countries who are divided into 2 zones. Cape Verde, the Gambia, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mali, Mauritania, Senegal, and Sierra Leone are in Zone 1. And Benin, Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Niger, Nigeria, and Togo are in Zone B. And 4 French players have been named in the official team of the tournament for the just concluded FIFA World Cup in Russia. And Tottenham Hotspur goalkeeper Hugo Lloris, Real Madrid defender Rafael Varane, Atletico Madrid forward Antoine Griezmann, and Paris Saint-Germain forward Kylian Mbappe were all influential as they helped France to a second World Cup title. And they were rewarded with their respective spots on the team of the tournament alongside 2 Croatian players, 2 Brazilian stars, 2 English players, and a Belgium star. Log on to our website, plustvafrica.com, for more information on those players who made the players of the tournament. And in basketball, LeBron James is expected to miss USA's basketball's minicamp to be held in Las Vegas next week. And James, who won 2 gold medals in 2008 and 2012 under the coach Mike Krzyzewski, will miss the first practices with new coach Greg Popovich. And James did not play in the 2016 games in Rio. And LeBron James is expected to make his first comment about his move from the Cleveland Cavaliers to the Los Angeles Lakers on the 30th of July, when he will be hosting the grand opening of the I Promise School in Akron, Ohio, a public school created through his charity, the LeBron James Family Foundation. And that's it on Sports Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko.
Thanks, Udoka. And that's our roundup of events. We will be back later with more stories making the headlines. To join us again, my name is Felicity Ezewike. Have a great day.